It is Thursday, January 30th, 2025. This is episode 53 of the Carlos Whittaker podcast. It's the last one till we change things up. Y'all ready? Wait, hold on. Y'all ready for this? Come on. Hey. Welcome, friends. Let me tell you something. I am supposed to be delivering this podcast intro and outro to you from none other than Auckland, New Zealand. That's right. I'm supposed to be in Auckland, New Zealand right now. But as many of you have slowly but surely been watching my life be hit by wave after wave after wave of blows, I'm not in Auckland. I'm not going to ever live under the assumption that all of you watch me on Instagram. And so if I can take 60 seconds and just kind of let you guys know, let everybody know, I can't even remember where I have shared what. YouTube, Instagram, podcast, I don't know. Let's just spell it out. As of right now, I'm recording this intro on January 28th, Tuesday. A week ago, Tuesday, a week ago, Monday, I flew out to Fresno, California, and with 2 hours to spare, was able to hold the hand of my beautiful mother-in-law, Bridgette Barcume, and be with her as her husband and 3 kids were able to say goodbye to her as she passed. And, you know, that was, again, coming off the heels of her mother, Nani, Yolanda, losing her home of 40 years in the Altadena wildfire the week before. So my wife was actually going out there to tend to Nani and to Rick and to help them dig through the ashes of their home, to try to find treasures, anything they could recover. But that was obviously, that plan was changed when Heather's mom went south, got really sick, and within a matter of days passed away. So, you know, I talked a little bit about on my YouTube vlog this week. By the way, for those of you that don't know, I'm vlogging once a week and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm calling the series Midlife. There's 6 episodes. They're about 30 minutes each. And it's just kind of a stream of consciousness, kind of like a podcast, to be honest with you, except I'm walking around with the camera kind of talking about and showing you kind of my day as we're talking about things. And so, you know, if you enjoyed this long form version of me, I really think all of you would enjoy my YouTube channel that I'm kind of switching up these days. All of that to say, what was I saying? I shared, you know, just the unrelenting nature of the season that we're going through. And, you know, I shared the whole week up on the YouTube channel. And Nani, we got to see her at the very end of the week. We got back yesterday from Santa Monica, and I got to see Nani yesterday. So it's just been a lot. So I just kind of wanted to catch all you guys up. I feel like I forgot where I was going about 60 seconds ago, and I went squirrel, and I got distracted. So I'll probably listen back to this and go, oh my gosh, I was talking about this. But you know what? You guys are Carlos Whittaker podcast listeners. This is actually going to be, it's going to have, I'm really excited about the direction we're taking this year. And I think you're going to be too. I just feel like I've wanted to do something different on the podcast. And I've been teasing it the last few weeks, as we've been listening to stories from people that you know or may not know. And to watch your reaction and how you're sharing it, I really think you're going to love where we're going. So on this week's episode of the Carlos Whittaker podcast, which, by the way, we're kind of changing names next week. Dun, dun, dun. Kind of. I'll explain it to you later. Next week. This week, I was digging through just footage, right? I was digging through footage and photos of Nani's house and Heather's mom and as we were just reminiscing about their lives. And, I'm going through my hard drives and I find on a hard drive from 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago? No. I'm going to check right now. I think it may have been. But I found a file that I had recorded of Nani. No, listen. Oh, yeah, here we go. Zoom. The WAV file was created January 14th, 2014. Holy cow. Hold on. So this is 11 years ago. I found a conversation that I had recorded on a little Zoom microphone of Heather interviewing Nani. And I'm not quite sure why I did that, besides Heather was like, hey, I just, she's getting old. I want to remember some of these stories. So Yolanda Dwight in the living room of the home that just burned down, in the home that we raised money to help her rebuild. In that home 11 years ago, my wife sat with Nani and asked her about her life. And she told us her story. And I found it. And that's who the guest on this week's episode of the Carlos Whittaker podcast. That's the wrong button. Hold on. Can you imagine if I was like, so ladies and gentlemen, now introducing, no, let's do it right. Oh, there it is. I need to let you know that Yolanda, Heather's Nani, who is still in the hospital since the devastating Altadena wildfires, sat down in front of Heather over a decade ago and shared her story. And so, guess what you get to hear? You get to dive into the life of Yolanda Garcia. And I'm so grateful that I found this recording for all of us to lean into. Yolanda, the floor is yours.
You look awfully nice today.
Thank you.
You got your hair did. You got your jewelry on.
I always have my jewelry.
I know. When did you start wearing jewelry? That's a good question.
I don't know. When I was in junior high school, I had a couple of rings. Even in junior high school, I had rings and a couple of bracelets. You know how the Mexican people,
I do.
They wear bracelets.
Did you have your ears pierced early?
No, I had my ears pierced when I was in junior high school or high school. I had them done.
I've never seen you without jewelry on.
I told my mother, why didn't you pierce my ears? I said, I see all these Mexican girls. I did, because where I went to school, I was the only one.
You were?
Yeah. In those days, Marshall High School, Belmont, down the road, that's where the Mexicanos went. But not Marshall.
Carlos doesn't think I'm Mexican. Can you confirm that I am indeed?
Well, on my side of the family, you are.
Well, that's enough. You're my grandma.
Yes. My mother was from Mexico, and my father was from Arizona. And
his parents were
they came from on the one side. My grandmother, they came from Spain. In fact, my father's aunt, they used to call her Nana. She never got married. She never had children, but all of her nieces and nephews, they were like hers. She was my grandmother's sister. And she was the last one that came over from Spain on the boat. Came on the boat, as they used to say.
I might be even more Spanish than you are, Carlos.
You may be Spaniard. I could see that.
Okay, good.
Typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives that growing kids should never eat. That is why Hiya was created. That's right, a super-powered chewable vitamin. Now listen, while many kids' vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar, which, listen, when I was growing up, that was the vitamin my mommy gave me. Not anymore. Hiya is filled and made up with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives. Formulated with the help of pediatricians, plus, not only pediatricians, nutritional experts, Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others. Your kids need Hiya. So listen, are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any other non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. We've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/humanhope and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. You know, a lot of times I think of a website like Shopify and I think, well, that means I got to sell mugs or shirts. What's so cool about Shopify is it literally can help you boost whatever product you are trying to sell, whether it be something in your brain, it could be a course, it could be a mug, it could even be a documentary. I've sold thousands of my documentary called Reconnected on Shopify. And I'm so grateful that not only does Shopify help me sell these things, but it is so easy to navigate and easy to use. The user interface for Shopify is incredible. And here's what's also cool. They've got a social media tool that actually lets you connect all your channels and create, I'm telling you, this has helped me so much. Shoppable, is that a word? Shoppable, yes. Posts and helps you sell everywhere that people scroll, not just in your cart. So listen, I want to let you know that Shopify is for you. If you've ever thought about selling anything, you can do it at Shopify. Established in 2025. That's what you could put at the bottom of your Shopify webpage, right? Because you can start today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Carlos, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Carlos to start selling with Shopify today. Shopify.com/Carlos.
I always point to your dad's picture because we have a whole bunch of old pictures in our bathroom. And I have Nana's immigration, a copy of Nana's immigration paper.
You do?
Up in the bathroom.
How'd you get that?
Well, I made a copy of it when I was here once. Or I took a picture of it and then I printed the picture. But so I have Nana's immigration papers from Mexico and I have the picture of your dad in his,
tuxedo?
No, what did he wear when he would go and sing? The sombrero.
When he did the ranchero songs.
Yes. And so he had all that.
I have one of him in a tuxedo in my bedroom.
Yeah. What did your dad do? What is unique about you and your great-grandchildren that you guys are similar? Because what did your father do?
My father was an entertainer. He also was a very smart man. His brothers were all
hold on, that's a phone.
Went to college, had quite a bit of higher education. Daddy did too, but he wanted to just study music.
So he was a musician,
and he studied music when we really studied it as the maestro. And that when he got married. And he was very young, but my mother was going on 23, and she just figured
she was almost a dried up old lady.
Yeah, she was thinking of kids, and my dad supposedly, and he was like 20, and he said, "Okay, we'll get married, but no kids, Ramona, Moncha." And she said, my mother used to tell me this later, and I said to him, No kids, but we got to get married. And she said later on, supposedly she was using the diaphragm and all that. And she says, how's he going to know if it's in or out?
And there you go. That's where I came from.
My brother was born, older brother was born, and he was such a good daddy. He loved all of us, but he was very young.
And he traveled. So that's what is unique between you and my kids is having a father who traveled all the time.
Was gone. Sometimes I wouldn't see him for
months.
6 months was usually the
Could you imagine that, kids?
Tour.
That's crazy.
And in those days, there wasn't the local airplane that you could jump on and, fly in.
Well, now they just open their phones and they can see their dad's face on the other end. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, I know. Well, I just had pictures, and there was still, until recently, there was a couple of my letters to my dad when I was a kid. And one of them starts off, I got to look for that letter. It starts off as, Daddy, Mama's going to write to you, but don't believe her, Daddy. I didn't do anything wrong. Written on this notebook paper and in this big kid's handwriting. I
want to see
Daddy,
that. We have to find it.
I have to find it. In fact, Rick must know where that's at because he's the one that found it and he read it. And it went everybody, in stitches. Daddy, don't believe Mama.
Believe her.
Well.
So your mom came from Mexico, your dad came from Arizona, but your grandparents on both sides were from Mexico? Like both your dad's mom and mom's mom?
Oh, well, my father's family, they migrated from Spain to Arizona.
Okay.
To Arizona. They didn't get to Mexico.
Okay.
Big whoop, you spit far enough and you hit Mexico.
Right.
So they were there and they migrated to Arizona. Some ended up in Yuma and some in Phoenix.
And you were born here in Los Angeles?
Yes.
I'm proud. Deep roots from Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
And
on Rowan Avenue.
Have you ever left Los Angeles? Meaning moved?
No,
never moved.
Only when I went to visit you in Atlanta.
I don't mean
no
traveling. I mean you've never lived anywhere else. You've never moved. You always lived in the greater Los Angeles area.
Well, in California. I moved to San Diego for a while.
Oh, okay.
But I've been in
Southern California.
I don't consider that moving too far away. And I only moved there because my husband was in the Navy.
Did you ever want to move anywhere else? Like live in a different culture or did you enjoy it here?
Not really.
So you felt fully content here, settled.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. And so I love hearing that there is somebody fully content in staying.
Why would I want to go anyplace else? I have everything here.
I know. Well,
I go to the beach when I want to.
Yeah, that's true.
I go drive up to the Arrowhead when I want to, the mountains. I go to the lake when I want to.
You go to the lake?
Lake Arrowhead or Crestline.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my lovely house here, and I had all my relatives here, but now I've got nobody, no relatives, nobody.
So what is you say one thing absolutely every single time I see you and talk to you. Whenever I call, there is one thing that you say, and you've already said it in the last hour since we have been together.
My back hurts.
No.
My back hurts.
No, that is not it. There is something about us that you say every single time. Can you think about what that is?
Why aren't you living here with me?
I know.
What are you doing in that godforsaken place where you live? That's what I consider it.
I know.
Godforsaken over there. You have no business there.
Thank you. That is exactly what you say. And I love it because it makes my heart happy.
You have no business there.
But we love it.
I know it. And now that I don't drive, I don't even get to see Teddy and the kids, and that upsets me.
Yeah.
See, if I was still driving, I would be up there at least every couple of months. Because it's nothing for me to drive up
you
there.
You used to drive,
of course,
no matter what, wherever.
Well, yes.
I love that about you.
Driving up there and spending time.
You taught me, let me think back of my people. You were definitely an influence in my life in the sense of being willing to travel and go and be a part of other people's lives, regardless of the fact that they didn't live down the street from me. So you would always pack up and come and be a part of my choir concert or whatever it was. And even when we lived down here, an hour and a half away from you, you were there whenever.
That's important to me.
I know, and I love that.
That's what I get very upset now that I don't get to see my babies growing up.
I know.
And get there when you had a function. I mean, it was nothing for me to drive, 500 miles to Fresno?
Something, 200, something like that.
200, 5 hours. Is that what it is? 4 or 5 hours. And I drive. That's why you got to learn. Well, you know how to drive. You're learning to drive. Right. Yeah. And you got to practice now and make sure it.
Okay. I have a good question.
Make her
for you.
get in the car with you, even though she doesn't. Yeah. And when she's going to the store, you drive and put her in the back seat. Make sure. It doesn't have to be, but it would be best if you sat in the back seat and relaxed.
Okay. I'm going to want you to speak. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer it and speak into the microphone like this. Can you? Hello. Say hello. 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 Okay. I want you to tell me a story, think about in your past, where you felt alive, where it was like you're on top of now I know that you didn't climb mountains, but consider the metaphor here of being on top of the mountain or just a wild story. Something crazy, fun, alive, wild. Give me something. What you got?
Well, that's hard for me. Let me see. Most of it has to do with you guys and your mother. Sometimes she did not want to go out. And for some reason, she would like to stay at home. But once you guys got old enough, boy, I threw you in the car with me. Then when your brothers and sisters came along, the same thing. But it started with you, and I had you for what? You were what, 8, 9 when the girls were...
when Teresa was born?
When your sister was born, Ted.
I was 6.
6.
When Teresa was born.
Okay.
We're 6 years apart.
So I had you, and by that time, that's when you had just moved. But for all that time, most of the time, you had lived in Los Angeles. And I just absolutely loved that.
I can't wait for my grandkids.
You were to go pick up, and your mother didn't care. And I'd pick you up, and we'd go out. That's where you learned to shop.
Yes.
That's where you learned. Oh, yeah. I took her shopping with me. We'd go pick up your Nana, my mother. She was another shopper. And we would go, the 3 of us, and have the best day in the whole world, have lunch. Those are kind of my high points. And it's very funny because I can't really think of too many other than when your mother got married and her and your uncle together doing things. But with you, I really, I was older.
Yeah, more established.
I had money. You and I could go and do what we damn pleased. And that
I like to do what we damn please all the time.
Yes, I know it. And we could go eat.
Yes. What would we eat? We probably only ate McDonald's French fries.
Oh, God. Oh, God. What she would call it. She would see that stupid McDonald's sign. Tet-ties, tet-ties, tet-ties. And she'd point to it. That's all she'd see is that orange thing. And I like the French fries, but I like to go eat something. And how many hamburgers? I mean, and this is coming from your Nani, and I'm a big, steady eater. but how many McDonald's hamburgers and French fries? Your mama just absolutely loved those French fries.
Well, because my mom wouldn't buy them for me, and you would, so that's why.
Of course I would.
I know. Well, thank you for all those
your mother.
French fries.
Yes. She would see
Were
that.
you a obedient child, or were you kind of a little more on the wild side when you were a teenager?
A teenager. Okay. Well, yeah, I was obedient and then a little on the wild side, but you had to be obedient with my mother.
She was pretty strict, huh?
Very. And she was tough on doling out the punishment. Lord, I think I was still getting spanked when I was 15 years old. And she had a belt. And she went after me. My mother was 5 feet tall, tall as your mama, or shorter. This little lady, and she had a belt, a big leather belt. And I don't remember either one of my brothers ever getting spanked.
Just you?
Yes. So I leave it there for you to.
Well, sorry about that.
And then towards the end, then I would just run out the house, go in the backyard, and we would just run away. You know, there's only so much you could chase me.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions, and you can think about however you want to answer it. When you were growing up, or from your age now, looking back, what is things that you did to rest or to take time for yourself or to just kind of in one sentence or let's see, summarize it by like vacation. Like how did you... I
used to love to go to the beach.
You would go to the beach.
Just sit there and watch the waves.
How often would you do that?
As often as I could. Ask your mama and daddy.
That's the benefit of living in Los Angeles, huh?
I'd throw those kids in the car and we'd go to the beach. I'd give anything to have lived closer.
Right.
I knew people that did, but that was nothing for me. Get them in the car.
So what was it about the beach that you...
I don't know. I just always loved it. Really loved it. I'm not a big time swimmer, but I can't get in the water. You know, I like it. I just love the ocean. And we went sometimes, if I wasn't working and I was home, we'd go 2-3 times a week.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So
and
that's
I had this, I don't know where I got it, but it was this huge umbrella, a regular umbrella that you get for that. And it was a great big one, a green with white stripes. And I would put that up. And I would lug that thing. Usually I would leave early enough where I could park in the parking lot close to
Before it got crowded.
To the ocean. Yeah. And I would take that thing and I'd open it up and I could have, you know, the kids had a place to lay down. Your mother could lay down because she was, you know, milky white. No matter what I put on her, you know, but still, she never got a sunburn. Never. Because she had her big umbrella to sit under. And then they played out in the ocean, out in the beach. I just loved it. It was nothing for me to drive all that way. We'd go early.
I love that because that kind of identifies a little bit myself of, I just threw the kids in the car and we drove across the country because I wanted to be with family or do this or do that. So I love hearing that was in you.
No, I would have gone further if there was something. And if I had relatives any place, I would have gone.
But they were all here.
They were all here, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about times in your life that were harder, okay? I know your stories and some of your stories, and knowing that you lost your dad young, you've lost a husband, and all throughout life happens, right? So what would you do? What are some words of wisdom that you have for me or the grandkids when life does get hard?
It does. But I'll tell you, I remember there was one time, and then I don't know if it was 6 months, a year, or what. And I don't quite remember what happened, but there was a time when your mother was not talking to me. Just nothing. I mean, and you know when your mother gets that nasty, mad look in her face. That was it. I never gave up. I never stopped. I'd call her up. I'd talk to her. It would be just like I didn't care if she was just snarling at me. And I would talk and have a conversation, and sometimes she would have to answer me, you know, and I just never stopped. And then it just finally blew over.
Did you know that the liver is the second largest organ in your body, and it's responsible for over 500 functions in your body? But for some reason, liver health never gets the press or the attention it deserves. Can I be honest with you? I didn't even know what my liver did. You know, like I know, like I can order liver at a fancy restaurant, but I didn't know what my liver did. Let me let you know. Over 30% of Americans have a sluggish liver, a problem that often goes undetected until the very last minute. Dose is on a mission to educate us all on why it's so important to maintain your liver health, and has created an incredible product to help you and I do just that. Dose for Your Liver was formulated to cleanse your liver of unwanted elements, aid in digestion, and maintain your body's filter. Why in the world would this matter? Because your liver... Nope, let's take this out. I already did this already. It acts as your body's filter, just in case you didn't know, flushing out unwanted elements and breaking down what you consume into essential nutrients. So listen, I want to let you know that Dose's science-backed formula promotes liver function, aids in digestion, eases bloating, hello somebody, and even boosts energy levels. Save 30% on your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Carlos or entering Carlos at checkout. That is dosedaily.co/Carlos for 30% off your first month subscription.
And while you're doing that, I think that's fantastic advice. But you have to have some courage, and you have to have some encouragement deep inside to keep doing that, right? Because I think after a week of snarling, I'd be like, forget it, you know? So what was that driving force to keep pushing you?
She was my daughter.
Oh, that's good. That's a good answer.
She was my daughter, and I was not going to not talk to her again. I knew why she was mad, and I got why she was mad. And I just figured, well, she can, how long is she not going to talk to me?
Yeah. And would you do that in all situations? Like, say, for example, after a death, did you just keep pushing through to that next day, or?
I guess I did. I don't know. I maybe you don't do it consciously, but you just do it because it's what you do.
Yeah. I love that, though. Never give up. Just keep going.
Just keep punching away.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and like I say, I understood why she was mad, but then again, it was kind of like, okay, you know.
So give me, it doesn't have to be your top, but say one of your top either days or memories that you would like to relive. Like if you could go back to any day or any season or a specific trip or, you know, a specific event.
Christmas with Daddy being home.
Oh, that's sweet.
Because he wasn't home. Sometimes he would just get home like Christmas morning or whatever, but he was a big Christmas person. And, you know, we always had a nice tree.
Yeah.
And presents and all that. But Christmas with my dad and mother always cooked a special dinner for Christmas.
Christmas here has always been a treat for us. We love it.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to be back here in a while, but
you guys
your Christmas
I don't
here
have it, but I have now David and Rick,
and
they've kind of taken over, and I'm lucky to have Rick. You know, we've got the Christmas tree is downstairs in the basement, and we left it decorated.
You did.
And it gets brought up for Christmas. And yeah, the boys left it last couple of years. They left it all decorated since they were, you know, I have a few things that are in boxes that I put
special
on.
Ones, yeah.
At the
Sayana loves Christmas. Did you know that? Nope, that's Sohail. Yep, Sam.
God, I turned to the wrong one. Oh, I'm glad you do, baby.
She counts down.
Christmas is
a bit obsessed about it. I love it. Okay, so what else? Any other questions, kids, that you guys might have? No? Carlos?
That was me, guys.
Oh.
I want to know about a wild date.
Ooh, a date.
A date. Like, did you go
a boy
to LA, to like East LA? Like, did you go dancing in the clubs in East LA?
Were you a dancer? Did you go to dances?
Somewhere?
Your grandfather was a big dancer.
Yeah.
Pigeon or Bernie?
Pigeon.
Uh-huh.
No, Bernie didn't dance at all. He had a bad leg. But Pigeon was a good dancer. That's why we kind of got together, because he and I did the same kind of jitterbug and stuff like that. Fancy.
I've never seen
all kinds of dances.
You bust out a jitterbug.
And it was, it's, as I said, that's kids. I was at my cousin's wedding when I met him, and he was there. He knew my cousin, and like he was about, I think, almost 8 years older than I was.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
7 or 8. Yeah, he was in the Navy, and I was still in school.
Oh, wow.
You know, and he was just this cute guy, and he knew how to dance, and we started dancing. And my daddy then had too many cocktails, and we were going to have to spend the night because Daddy couldn't drive. And none of us kids knew. I didn't know how to drive yet and have a license. Well, maybe I did know. Maybe I was going to have to drive.
But Daddy had too many cocktails.
Yeah. Anyway, before we knew it, Pigeon was driving us home.
Oh, he stepped up as the knight in shining armor to come in, huh?
And he spent the night at my parents' house. And
did you think he was cute then?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? My whole being was going pitter patter. And then he was putting the moves on me. And then he left, and right after that, the day after he left, I got a letter. And we started writing to each other.
Because he lived in San Diego?
He was in the Navy.
And then, you lived in LA?
He was in San Diego. And then he was on their ball team. He was a good baseball player. So when you're in the sports arena in the service, you're pretty spoiled. And when it was time for him to go overseas to do sea duty, as they called it, he went to Coronado Island. That was sea duty. And they wrote it down on all his stuff. The Navy in Washington.
That's so funny, because Nenan was just telling me today that that Pop-Up was sent out to sea duty, but he went to Key West, but it was a dry dock. So same thing. He went to sea duty, but he really didn't go to sea duty.
Didn't go any place. Yeah. So he went to Coronado, and that's where he would go. But he was on the ball team. He was on the other day on a sports thing I was watching. Old-time ball player. I met several ball players that were on the team.
And then went professional?
Yeah. Well, in those days, they were professional anyway because they were drafting people.
Oh, yeah.
So if they were on the New York Jets or whatever, they would still draft them if their name came up on the draft. And so I met a bunch of them.
That's fun.
And I knew, and he played ball. He was a good ball player. He played for the something Sox, that team. And then he hurt his knee. The usual story of most ball players. Hurt your elbow or your knee.
And so what would a date look like? If you were living at home and he was in the service down in San Diego, would he come up and pick you up, and then what'd you guys go do?
Well, he had a good friend, Ray, and Ray was married. I forget his wife's name. And we'd go over to their house a lot, and we would do things with them.
Have dinner and play games or whatever.
Sometimes we'd all go to the movies. We went to the movies a lot. He used to like to go to the movies. He used to like to dance a lot. Or we'd go places that were where you could dance. I was pretty young, so I looked older. But
to get into clubs and stuff?
Sometimes, yeah.
After you got married and then you were a young single mom and you had to go out into the work world and you wore your stilettos, where did you work?
What was my first job? I think I worked at Grayson's department store.
Ooh, doing what?
Sold clothing.
Nice.
Sold clothes. Yes, and I always wore my high heels. But I would take a pair of flats also. But if you went out really like in public or something, you had your high heels.
High heels hurt.
Not if you get the right kind.
Oh, I feel like high heels hurt.
Well, that's because you're not used to them.
Yeah, maybe.
I started wearing them, and I really kind of never took them off.
I know. My whole life, you've always had high heels on.
Yes, I still have all the boxes up there with my high heel shoes, some of them, but I don't wear them anymore. You can come and borrow them when you come over. But I wish I could. I wish I could wear my high heels, but I don't even go out
and look at
that much. But I just always thought high heels, and even, neither one of my husbands were very tall.
They weren't?
No. Pigeon wasn't very tall. In other words, and Bernie wasn't all that tall. They were tall, they were okay, but it was like when you put me in a pair of 3-inch heels, stilettos, they're not, but that didn't matter to me. That's...
You're a cute little old lady in stilettos.
Well, I just got used to them from when I was real young.
I love that.
That was what I started wearing when I started going out. High heel shoes. My mother used to wear them, but then she couldn't after a while. Her back, I don't know what it was, but she would wear what she would call her Cuban heel.
Well,
1.5, 2 inches. Not the real high, but she used to wear them when she was young, real young and working.
Hey, you told me just the other day that I might have part Indian in me. Can you tell me where that came from?
Well, the story goes, if you heard the story from my mother, it was one way. And if you heard it from my aunt, Tia Tana,
her sister,
it was another way.
Okay.
It was like they lived in 2 different houses.
I can see that, though. The girls have different sides of stories.
Supposedly one grandmother, my mother's grandmother.
Okay.
Or her great-grandmother was Indian.
Oh.
She was very old, and I think the story is that she went to live with my grandmother. And my grandfather, in the younger days, he was at war most of the time.
Right.
And so she would be there.
Well, I love you much, and thank you for talking.
Well, I love my family, and I appreciate your visits.
Yolanda, I'm actually going to see if Rick can let you listen to this podcast episode. It's going to be not only a gift to all of us that just heard it, but also to you. Love you, Nani. And I hope you guys really appreciated me continuing to share parts of my story and our family story with you. You know, the reason why I share such intimate moments of our lives is because I know that a lot of you feel invisible when you're going through something difficult. And I want you to know that just because I got 13,000 Instagram followers and all these people following what I do every day does not mean that I'm not going through bleep and that it doesn't hurt. And that sometimes I don't know how to balance it. And sometimes I hurt other people. And sometimes I get hurt. And I'm just human. I'm just trying. And I screw up. And I am grateful for a community of you that has walked along with me for so long. So, hey, listen, next week, I'm taking risks in 2025. I'm 51 freaking years old. Now is not the time to relax. And so we're going to shake some things up. I think that not only are those of you that love this podcast going to continue to love what it is that I bring you, but I think it's going to be you're going to be able to invite other people into the fold of these conversations that may not even know who I am, but are going to be very fascinated and interested by some of the people that we're going to be talking to over the course of this next season. So let's get ready for a new season next week. You guys in? Please subscribe, follow the podcast, and I'll see you next week on another episode of the Blankety Blank podcast. Stay tuned.